Crew Pros, your single source for high quality, affordable home services. If you are remodeling, repairing, or replacing, Crew Pros are the professionals that can do the job no matter the size. If you are thinking of remodeling your kitchen or bath, needing a new HVAC system, plumbing repairs, flooring, or a complete roof replacement, call Crew Pros. Crew Pros, proud sponsor of the Grizz 901 podcast.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What's up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Grizz 901, presented by Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. I am your host, Daniel Greer, and we have one of our Grizz lead guys, Jesse Elsey, joining us on the show today. What's up, man?
Not much. Ready. We've had 2 off days. It's been the longest day without Grizz basketball since the season started, so I'm looking forward to watch us play the Kings tonight. Hopefully get a win.
Well, you know who else has had some off time is the Kings. They haven't played since Sunday.
That's crazy.
Sunday.
That's crazy.
That's weird.
Yeah, I'm not really worried a ton about the Kings. Yeah, De'Aaron Fox is going crazy. He's averaging over 30 so far through the year, but their defense is just not great at all. They're, I think, 20th in defensive efficiency this so far this year, and they don't really have any guys that I'm afraid of one-on-one matchup wise. I think we win all of the matchups except for the Sabonis matchup. So as far as starters go, I'm not too concerned. We should play well, but early in the year, you never know what anybody's doing. And Keegan Murray just started playing, I think, last game, and he was my favorite out of the draft. So
yes. Keegan Murray's now played 2 games, and he was out for COVID, protocols. And so if anybody's wondering exactly why he missed the first game of the season, they've only played 3 so far, but he was out. It was just COVID stuff. He had it before coming into the game. It just was not able to pass the protocols. But he's played 2 games this season, and I do like him as well. He's one of the guys that really stuck out to me, especially when he was played at Iowa. He was a guy who could, get buckets, but it just seemed like there was something missing. And so I'm curious to see how he plays. I think he's been a very good player for them so far. In the 2 games, he scored 19 and 16 points, which has been big. But mainly, like, he's doing a little bit of everything. He's, trying to get rebounds and assists and stuff like that. So he's doing a little bit of everything for them. So anybody else on that team that you like?
I really like Sabonis. I think he's got a ton of talent. The way he rebounds, and he's probably a top 3 is a little bit of a stretch, but probably top 5 passing big man in the league. So what he can do from the post, whether it's the low post or the high post, not just attacking, but even passing the ball, is kind of underrated, I think. But he has the potential to go off for a bunch. He likes to rebound and he's a big body, bigger than most of the other bigs in the NBA right now. So him and Steve-O should have quite the battle on the boards.
Yeah, he's obviously done a very good job. His first game was horrible, talking about Sabonis here. And then he picked up, the second game against the Clippers. He's going against Zubac, who's a very good rebounder. He had 10 rebounds. And then against Golden State, which is more of his flow. And that's what I'm going to kind of look at is more of his flow of probably the opposing team's defender. He's going against guys like, Kevon Looney and James Wiseman, who aren't, they're good rebounders. And obviously Kevon Looney just showed out during the Grizzlies game in the playoffs. But that's not normally who that player is. But he had 14 rebounds against them. So he's actually, he's gearing up. You can probably, correlate that to gearing up, getting better, but mainly it's, having a better game against the style of defense that he likes. And I think the Grizzlies are kind of like that outside of Steven Adams. So let's go ahead and get into a little bit about the game. And, obviously we're talking about our predictions and stuff, but is there a matchup within the matchup that you're dying to see? Just visually, like for you, this is your jam. Like, give me those two guys. I'm watching anytime they're on the court. Those are the two guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think the easy answer, but the obvious answer is the De'Aaron Fox Ja Morant matchup. They're, two of the most electric players in the NBA, definitely at the guard spot. They're incredibly fun to watch, and like I said, they're both averaging over 30 points so far through the year. So they're, their shots are falling, which is going to make it really, really fun to see. And I love watching pick and roll in the NBA. I think that's really fun when you watch somebody that's kind of mastered the art of the pick and roll. Like I know Chris Paul's got it kind of mastered, and he is always fun to watch in a pick and roll. But I think Ja Morant and Steven Adams they're finally hitting their stride, and they've hit their groove. And then I think, De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis can kind of hit their groove as pick and rolls. So kind of watching how they switch or drop or hedge, all those off the pick and rolls is going to be really, really interesting to see, and to see who can, get the last punch. I do think it'll be kind of a knockdown drag out where everybody's going to be going for the rim, and whoever can get the last shot will win.
Yeah, those two, that is the obvious choice, right? And those are the two that when they're on the court, they have all defenders, their eyes are on them, the coaches, the fans, everybody's watching those two dudes because they're absolutely electric. And I agree with that. I want to get into some other matchups, and obviously I hit on it a second ago, but I love Steven Adams. Sabonis is there as well. Those two guys really know how to rebound. And that's really, the two main things that they do best is their rebounding, making sure they get the ball out. They're both very good passers, which is great to see from the big man position. But I think that's something to look at. Sacramento is 0-3, and they're going to look to be they're going to try to come out right and look good. But something else I'm watching outside of just the two players I'm watching is the game. Both teams score under 30 points in the first quarter so far on average this year. Okay. Small sample size, right? One's 4 games, one's 3 games. But coming off of the biggest rest the Grizzlies have had, okay, and that's 2 days. Yeah. It is with travel out to the West Coast. So that's a little caveat, which could be jet lag in a sense. And so I look at the Sacramento Kings team. Okay. They're 0-3 back against the wall. They have to come out and look good. But they've also been off since Sunday. Yeah. Like, that screams the first quarter is going to be ugly. Yeah. What say you?
Yeah, I do think, it's going to take a little bit of an adjustment period. The first 5 minutes, first 5-6 minutes of the game will be bad misses, some lapses defensively, and just some silly errors just because they haven't been playing in a while. I think that is definitely there. But I think, there's some experience on the King side with Harrison Barnes. I think he's probably going to have a pretty big first quarter, as long as Dillon Brooks doesn't, rattle him, as Dillon Brooks, can do. But I think Harrison Barnes will probably be the solid mainstay of their offense for the first quarter while everybody's getting their feet back under them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that this game, and I'll go ahead and give one of our bets that we have. Ryan and I, if you don't follow us, we are we do the main. He is my main co-host. He's my main chick, not my side chick, like Nathan is, or my second to side chick, like you might be, Jesse. But Ryan and I do a lot of Grizzly stuff, and we put out the Grizz Lead Player Watch. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I'm going to give one of my plays throughout this show, but we already have 2 plays on the actual game so far. And the first one that we have is the first quarter for the Grizzlies to win by a point or more. And that's the first quarter, win by a point or more. You can find it, I know, at BetMGM, where we've been at, and it is -120. So if you're a betting person, go ahead. The Kings have not won a first quarter this entire season. Okay. So they've lost by more than 1. I feel good against this because the Grizzlies try to get off to a hot start. They obviously don't always get out to a hot start, but I think they have a little bit more rest than they've had. I think they're coming off a really good win. I think they're going against the Kings team who obviously is struggling, but the Kings give up a lot of points in the first quarter. And so we don't want to touch the over or the under on that. Ryan has other thoughts. Ryan is all on the under. So if you want to follow Ryan, go ahead. He's all in. He went under on the first half and under on the entire game. I'm not touching that because both teams scare me. But we expect there to be more points in the second half as well than the first half. So if that's something you like, it's just too juicy for us to touch those odds. But yeah, that's one of our official plays. Is going to be on the first quarter. The Grizzlies, but to win by 1 or more points. But how do you see this matchup just kind of playing out in general? Like the entire game, give it to me. Like how does this, how do these matchups work out?
I think it's close for, a majority of the game. I think, you might see somebody pop out early in the first quarter, take an early lead. But like you said earlier, like the Kings haven't won a game yet. They're at home and they're, getting a little desperate. So they're going to be trying to win one. And it's got to happen at some point. No team's going 0-82. So,
Right.
so I'm worried it might be a little bit of a trap game. We've got a couple of days off, but it's our first big road trip. We're playing a team that just I'll call it what it is. They're not as good as any of the other teams we've played so far this year. So I think they might, look past them and they could get hurt there. So I don't expect a big discrepancy in the score for a majority of the game. And I ultimately, the homer in me says we're going to win, but I really wouldn't be surprised if we drop it and it's, an 8-point game and we lose just because we're looking past them.
Really? So, okay. So I see it completely different. The Grizzlies they're young, right? And you could attribute that to a team that looks past people maybe, but I think that they have so much swag to them that they are kind of killers too. And that's really what comes to mind is looking at our best player. When he is healthy, when he is motivated, to which I don't know why he wouldn't be, going against De'Aaron Fox, who's pretty much been a Grizz killer in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another piece of it is, Fox loves to run off and score 35 against the Grizzlies.
Right.
But, I wouldn't I do think we'll win, but it's not a lock for me. I think we could drop it. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand there. So, but you're on the other side of the fence. So
yeah, I'm completely on the other side. And looking at the De'Aaron Fox stuff, he is the Grizz killer. But last season he scored 12 points in each of the 2 matchups that he played. And I believe there was another matchup or 2. I can't remember how many they played, but in the other matchups he did not play. So just looking at the 2 matchups, he only had 12 points. So yes, he might be a Grizz killer of the past, but what is he now? Right. Have the Grizzlies kind of caught up to him? So I've already put my money on this, and I think it's Grizzlies -3. I played that this morning, and so that's our other official play. We're going to go Grizzlies 3. But if you want to dabble a little bit and have some fun, my real predictions, I think this game is definitely going to be ugly in the first half. And I think you're going to see the Grizzlies come out in the third quarter and really show dominance. And I think they're going to get up by double digits. And I think the game's going to be, within 5 or 6, going into the fourth quarter, they make a comeback. You're going to see maybe teams get even. But I think in the end, after Ja comes in around the 8-minute mark in the fourth quarter, you're going to start seeing the Grizzlies really separate from the 8 all the way down to the 4-minute mark left in the game. And I really think that the Grizzlies win by 10 or more points. And I think that this team has that killer mentality in them. And yet I would say, yes, you can look past the Kings, but you have the Jazz. And you could say oh, it's the Jazz. They're not any good. The Jazz are good.
Jazz are really good.
It's weird. Good. And you know what's funny about that is the Jazz remind me such of the Grizzlies, this Jazz team currently, because they're not supposed to be great. They're not supposed to be good at all. And you know what? Playoff-wise, the Jazz are probably just not a good playoff team. They're probably, if they were to stay together, which we know Danny Ainge is not going to allow that.
No, he's going to change the entire team by the end of next year. So
exactly. Well, no, not even, dude, it's happening in February. No later than February. You're going to see this whole team kind of broken up, and they'll probably bring in Russell Westbrook and take everything they can and then just say, hey, buddy, you're not playing. Sorry, we're going to play anybody else but you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
No,
yeah, no, I see this game being a 10+ point win. I think that they have a really good chance to be a statement game. And it's not because it's the Kings. I think it's because why the Grizzlies, who I think are really good, are only favored 3 points. And I think that's a weird number. And usually when it's weird, I stay away. But I believe in John. I believe in Bain, who is a really good matchup here, and he's my biggest matchup player coming to this game. I think he really can go off again. But yeah, I see this being a really good game from them. I think that their matchup is really good here compared to maybe in the past when they have maybe overlooked them. I don't think this Kings team is overlooked anymore.
yeah, I don't know. I'm also a little concerned about the legs. If Konchar doesn't play, we've got already Ziaire's out. We don't have Jaren, so we're just kind of thin. We're just kind of thin is what I was a little bit worried about. And we've had guys been playing 35, 40 minutes. Well, I guess more closer. It's been closer to 35, but early on, your legs aren't completely under you. You're still getting adjusted to playing a full season, and I don't know. That's what's got me a little concerned.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Like, I'm not saying I'm not scared.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
am scared.
The NBA
But
at this point, you really can't look past anybody. Like at the beginning of the year, you would think, oh yeah, the Jazz, that's a win. That's
yeah,
2 wins that we've got under our belt. But Jazz are good. Markkanen is a killer. So
yeah,
you really can't there's a bunch of parity in the league. So
yeah. No, I agree. All right. So you're calling, let's just make sure we're clear. So you're saying you could see this being a Kings win. Would you say Kings
yeah,
win
I
tonight?
can see it.
Predicting it?
No. Not predicting, but wouldn't be
God.
surprised.
All right. So you predict a Grizzlies win, not surprised if the Kings win.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go Grizzlies win, not surprised if it's a 10 or more point win. All right. We'll
Okay.
go on those. Let's get into something you just talked about with the injuries. Grizzlies injuries. You have, Ziaire Williams out 4 to 6 weeks. It has been said that it's patellar tendonitis from the Grizzlies PR. What say on you? Is that scary? Because that young player, patellar
Young guy, but
tendonitis.
no,
Yeah.
I'm not worried. He's a young guy. They bounce back quick. Not too worried. It could. I don't think Zaire's got an injury history, so I'm really not concerned about it at all. If Jaren gets a setback, I'm concerned.
Right.
But with Ziaire, I think it's just a little freak thing. He's out for a couple of weeks. I think he'll be fine. I would love to have him because he made some big strides in the offseason. We saw it in the summer league. He was looking a lot more confident in the preseason. And I really was intrigued by what that could mean for our offense as a whole. But I guess I'll have to wait 4 to 6 weeks to see how that works.
Yeah. So the 4 to 6 weeks thing is what makes me feel better. And I'll explain why is because, yes, you can say like, this is the injury, and you can go on your Google machine and fire it up and say, patellar tendonitis, how long were you hurt for? What is somebody we look at? But when the Grizzlies, they actually say 4 to 6 weeks, it means they're saying because he probably could play in 2 weeks, right? Maybe 3. But we're saying 4 to 6 weeks for the simple fact that we want him to know in his camp. We want everybody to understand he is not going to play in the next month for the simple fact that he's one of our young players. He's one of our core guys. We want to make sure that he is able to be healthy and the best possible version of himself when he gets back. If it does go past the 4 weeks, it gets a little worrisome. If it goes past the 6 weeks, I think we got some issues. I think that's really what would scare me. But before then, I think we're good. Give me a prediction real quick. All right. I'm putting you on the spot.
How long he's going to be out?
Nope. Nope, not that. Who comes back first, Ziaire or Jaren?
Oh, that's tough because, oh man, the last one I was on, we were talking before the last pod I was on, and we were talking before, and we were saying, the time frame is about Thanksgiving, and that's about what this is given. I think, hopefully, oh gosh, I'm gonna say Zaire's back.
Wow.
I think
I
I
like
think
it.
we're gonna take our time with Jaren, make sure he's fully ramped up, and we are real cautious with him. We should have put him in bubble wrap in the offseason, but
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I have a full stance on this, but just so I can go opposite and we can kind of have some beef, I'll go Jaren on this. He keeps saying these cryptic messages of
no.
like this guy is, or he's saying like, "Hey, I'm back soon," and then it's like sooner question mark, and then the I, yeah. Listen, I don't know what Jaren's got up his sleeve,
I don't
but
either.
I'm gonna
I mean,
I'm gonna ride with Trips here.
okay. I hope so. I hope so. I'm
All right,
just
so the other guy who just popped up on the injury list has been Ziaire Williams, not Ziaire Williams. We just went over him. Sorry, it's been you know what? Last night it was my daughter's birthday. Shout out to Penelope. It was my daughter's birthday, and literally it's been a busy day. It's been a busy week leading up to her birthday. But John Conchar, all right, so he is questionable with shoulder soreness.
yeah.
Eh,
Yeah, I
Is
don't
that an
even
issue?
know. Yeah, I don't even know how that happens. He's questionable, so like he could play. I'm imagining that he does play. Kind of in my head, I've got him playing. If he comes out, I don't think it'll be more than just like a game or two. But it's a little disappointing because he had played so well in the first couple of games. I don't want to say like I'm mad at him. I can't be mad at somebody getting hurt. But he had shown a lot of the same stuff that he was showing last year, just with an extended role, and he's doing the dirty work on the defensive end. He's grabbing rebounds like he always does. But I think he just fit that starting unit when we didn't have Dylan Brooks so well because he was willing to make the extra pass and he played within himself and played within his role in a really good way. And I thought it was really nice to have that kind of consistent and defensive minded player that was willing to crash the boards with Steve-O because as much as I love him, Steve-O can't grab every rebound in the game. So
Right.
you need somebody else to jump down there. And Ja's running out in transition. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think it scares me. Questionable is weird though. Like I don't know what's going on with his shoulder and his shoulder, soreness. So you can't really get into too much of it, but it's just weird that it just popped up on there. These guys have gone through, 3 games in 4 days, most on the road. So it's a lot of issues. But I didn't see, is there anything that we saw out of that last game? Because I don't think I saw anything that came out of that win against the Nets that really would stick out to show like, hey, yeah, he popped up. He didn't really play as much. He played 26 minutes, which is 6th most on the team.
yeah.
He played well. There's nothing weird that I see on here.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I don't,
so anything you saw?
I didn't see him. I can't even remember him hitting the deck or anything like that at all.
No.
So, yeah, there's nothing that like is sticking out to me, and I haven't seen anything on Twitter or anywhere else like identifying something where he hurt himself. But it could have been just like in one of the weightlifting sessions he lifted too much, and you never know.
Got that Jitty cling.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have actually found out the reason Jitty is out. Ryan in the chat says his shoulders are sore from carrying the team. Shout out Ryan. He's there's no telling what he's doing right now, but he's out here in the chat. So speaking on that, if you are go to YouTube, hit us up in the chat. Be more than happy to answer any questions you got. But yeah, we've tried to change up some things because none of our statistics were tracking. So we've did away a little bit with the Twitter Periscope stuff you can watch live because we can't actually see the chat. And so because I couldn't see it, I want to get away with it. Not get away with it, get rid of it, get away from it. And so now we're trying to run everything through YouTube so we can actually see the chat and see people asking questions. Because I was told from fans that they were asking questions, they were saying stuff, but we weren't responding. And I had honestly no clue that any of that was happening. So that's why. And so if you are listening or watching somewhere else, come over to YouTube. And if you're on the podcast, thank you as always. The podcast is back to booming as always. And so thank you all. Couldn't do it without you. Let's go ahead and give a little bit about our presenting sponsor, and that's Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they do treat you like family. They treat me like family. And so we're going to have to talk Jesse into going over and getting a quote. We're going to make him the guinea pig. We're going to make him go undercover, ask for a quote, see what they can do for him. And then he'll report back to us. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
See if they can beat my rate.
Do they have dog insurance? Maybe I see you playing with a dog over there.
Yeah. She's trying to get some attention right now. So I'm just making her fetch and keeping her quiet.
That works. Well, go check out Zach Jaworski State Farm if you need any insurance at all. Whether it is, it's not boating season, but you might want to make sure you check out your boat stuff, as well as your home, auto, any insurance purposes or any insurance issues that you might need. Go check them out. Tell them the Grizz 901 crew sent you. Call them at 901-459-4227. You can check them out on the web at zachinsuresmemphis.com, and that's ZACH insuresmemphis.com. All right, so before we get into our last thing, real quick, let me go ahead and share our Grizz Lead player watch. My first one's going to be, and this is the only one I have at the moment. I love the Steven Adams rebounds. I think he gets 10 rebounds. The number's 10.5. I'm going to stay away for the moment. I'm going to let it fall back to me a little bit. It's a 9 o'clock game out on the West Coast. We might see some, lowering of lines as we get closer. I don't know about 11, but 10 I do like. I think that Steven Adams could have a big game. One guy I do love is going to be Desmond Bane. I think he's going to go over 19.5 points. The Sacramento Kings are the worst against the shooting guard position points-wise. And then how does he get a lot of his points? Where did he just go off from? I think on the road, Desmond Bane, three-pointers, they're the second worst at allowing three-pointers. So I could see him chunking up again and having, 8, maybe 9 attempts, cashing in at least 3, maybe 4. And so I like his points because he has been getting to the rim even more. So that's going to be one of our locks for sure. That's going to be on the Grizzly player watch, is over 19.5. I got it at minus 105 at one point. But the other guy, the other shooting guard, call him a 2, call him a 3. We have the Dylan Brooks Chronicles, and we were literally 2 minutes for coming on the show, and you said, I have something I want to share. And I said, go ahead, let's just talk about it now. But it's about an article. Jesse writes articles for Grizz Lead, and so he might be coming up with something like this. But let's talk a little bit about Dylan Brooks. Go ahead and share your thoughts, and let's talk through it on the air.
Yeah, I think it's time for the Grizzlies to graduate from the Dylan Brooks chronic or the Dylan Brooks experience. We've had it for a while, and I just, there was talk at the end of the year that they were going to speak with him and get him to understand his role, that he's not number 1 or number 2 or even really number 3 anymore. And I don't think that has gotten through to him. And, he's only played a couple of games, as has everybody. But, the ball stagnates when it gets in his hands. He's a black hole. It goes up or he turns it over. We just play offense differently. I'm not saying Dylan Brooks isn't a good basketball player. I just don't think he fits Taylor Jenkins' offense anymore.
Okay.
So I think it's time to start shopping him around, seeing what we can get for him, even if we get more draft picks or if we get expiring contracts or take on a load. I just think for the good of the team, it might be better to move on from him.
Okay. Well,
it's hard to say, but because he's been our long-standing Grizzly and he's the heart and soul of, grit and grind now and everything, but I'm kind of tired of it.
All right. So I'm going to disagree and agree. So let me explain myself real quick. First, I disagree. He's not the heart and soul of the grit and grind, whatever the Grizzlies are doing. He's actually the opposite. Like, I think he's just out there running around, making noise and doing a lot of crazy stuff, which in the end translates to maybe being a pest on defense. I'm going to back your thoughts real quick before you put me in the other spot of life that I didn't want to be in, and that is standing up for Dylan Brooks. So this will be the first and last, I hope. Dylan Brooks was a +7 in that game. It wasn't great.
Yeah, but everybody was plus high. Everybody else played. Every other starter.
And he was the worst of the starters. Okay. I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying he was +3. It wasn't great. He was 0 for 5 from 3, 2 of 13 from the floor, just in general. But I will ask the question. Okay. So that's like, I agree with you. He wasn't good. Okay. He was after the game getting up the shots, as everybody saw in the videos. But the Grizzlies scored 134 points against a team who is legitimately considered to be a really good team in the Brooklyn Nets. They have two amazing superstars. Yep. Let me play the devil's advocate on the other side. And I don't want to be in this position, but I have to. Desmond Bane has not played well this season until Dillon Brooks came back. So Dillon Brooks is back on the team. And then Desmond Bane goes off for 38 points, goes 10 of 11 from deep. Obviously looks great. He was 12 of 20. No, sorry, wrong person. He was 8 of 11 from deep, 14 of 21 overall. Okay. Desmond Bane shows up now. It's when Dillon Brooks comes back. I think there's correlation there because Desmond Bane's been having to be our best defender on the perimeter since Dillon was gone. So if you're taking that away, what's happened? We're going to just throw in the towel and Desmond Bane just takes a step back this year?
No, I don't think there's a correlation. I think Des was due. He had 3 bad games, and then he finally was able to pop off. But I mean, he didn't score all 38 while Dillon Brooks was on the floor. So there's I have a little pushback there. But I mean, I think when Ziaire comes back, he's going to be taking on more responsibility guarding the good 2 guard on the team because he's bigger, a little bit more athletic, or at least he's got more intangibles. He's got a bigger wingspan. He's taller. He's a little bit quicker laterally. I think that'll be taken off of him. And then Konchar was doing a good job. Well, he was in front of Kevin Durant.
He was in front of him. He was letting him go by, but he was in front of him.
Really, at the end of the day, when Kevin Durant is like that, that's all you can do is just hope and pray that he's not going to put it in your face the way he did. But I mean, the defense, the effort was there from Konchar, who was guarding the best defender when Bane was on the floor with him. So I have a little pushback there as well. I think Dillon Brooks hurts more than he helps.
Okay. Well, so I agree and I disagree. Like right now, Memphis has next to the last most points per game allowed, right? And so that our defense has been an issue. Yep. Last year, when we started the season, our defense was the issue. And so I agree completely. Like our defense has not been good, but I don't know what you do with a guy who really, I don't know what you're getting back for him. Like, is it best to just go head into the wall? We're going to figure this out with him. Obviously, they can trade him. And I know that. Like I think most people would agree to. I would agree. Most people want to trade him, but what are you getting back for a Dillon Brooks right now? I don't.
So I don't.
You said pennies on the dollar, and
I would give him up for pennies on the dollar. But I think even if not, he's an expiring contract, and that is a premium in the NBA because there's always somebody great coming out in the free agency that if you've got, I don't even know how much Dillon Brooks is making. I think it's like 12 million this year.
I think. Yeah, I'll look real quick. Keep going.
Yeah, he's making $10 million. If you can trade for that, and then that frees up $10 million more dollars, that's the difference between somebody who's getting a max deal and somebody who's getting just 25-30 million a year. Yeah. So I think that is the ultimate value. I don't think people are going to be trading for Dillon Brooks. They're going to be trading for a $10 million expiring contract.
Okay, so he's making 11.4. Which obviously is, that's doable. He is on the last year, right? So you're not really, so there's nothing long-term that matters, in my opinion, to this player. Like long-term, I worry nothing about it. Okay. But I'm looking at the player this year, this season, and I don't know if it's the worst thing to have him if they can figure out his role. But I'm on your side saying that if for some reason he was to be an issue and not figure out his role in this team, then yes, you have to get off of Dillon Brooks. What you get back for him, pennies on the dollar, is not what I want. Okay. Because you're already you're gonna give up him at the end of the season for nothing. So pennies on the dollar means nothing to me because I want to only give up Dillon Brooks if I can get something that interests me, whether it's a player like a draft pick that's really good, whether it's a young player that has time to develop, and moving out him is great. I think that the best thing that if it did happen is if Dillon Brooks does leave for whoever, you bring in a guy like Ziaire who can fill into his role and feel comfortable. And I like that. You give him more time, you give the rookies more time, but to get somebody back 11, let's say 11.5 million, I think that's going to be, you could get a decent player. What you get back, I don't know. One guy I wish we could get is a guy like Jordan Clarkson. We're going to see him going up very soon, right, against the Jazz. He's playing well. He shoots the ball from deep well. He's not the biggest of guards, and he has a contract with Rich Paul as his agent. So that scares me in general. But outside of Rich Paul being his agent, I do think that a guy like Jordan Clarkson could be the guy that you match up with a Brandon Clark, a guy you match up with Tyus Jones, spread the court a little bit, and then you can throw in somebody like Desmond Bane. And then you have two lethal shooters. You have a guy that's going to roam the post a little bit, and then you have a Santi Aldama. You have Ziaire Konchar. You have a little bit of something. I don't think that they're going to give him up, but I think you could get Dillon Brooks and maybe a pick to get Jordan Clarkson. Yeah. But it's weird because people normally would have said Dillon Brooks is probably better than Jordan Clarkson, but I don't know if I see that anymore.
Yeah, no, the trade that I've seen, in the last year that's most intrigued me was Cam Johnson, because the Suns were shopping him last year, and they're making, I think I saw that they were making about the same money. And Cam Johnson is younger, shoots the ball better, and can play within a system. He's been coming off the bench a little bit for the Suns, or maybe his whole time he's come off the bench, but I think he would fit in rather well with the Grizzlies. I don't know if they're still looking to shop him, but I don't really know what the Suns' whole prerogative is this year because with the whole Robert Sarver stuff, and because they were shopping Jay Crowder. I don't know what they're planning to do, but if we could, possibly flesh that out. But yeah, a deal to get a player back, or even, personally, I'm fine with just taking anything about. Even if it's going to be, the same thing like we've got with Danny Green, who's going to ride the bench until February because he's hurt. Like, I'm fine just not having the black hole come in and play 30 minutes a night. Because I think defensively, like we've talked about it, I think really the key to our defense is Jaren Jackson Jr. And until he gets back, I think defensively we're not going to be the best because the block Panther was so good from the weak side, deterring shots, that there was an immense amount of value added when he's on the floor. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. The Dillon Brooks Chronicles lives on, and it will be, honestly, it'll be an ongoing thing throughout the year. Let's go to our last thing we have is our game predictions for the Jazz. Grizzlies take on the Jazz. It's a Saturday night game. On the 29th. And so it's at 8 o'clock, which is a little bit earlier. And I laugh at this because, and I think I talked about this in the last podcast, the fact that the Grizzlies are playing the Jazz out on the West Coast, in a sense, right? The Jazz are a West Coast team considered. At 8 o'clock is laughable to me because usually these games are at 9 or 9:30 because they want to grab that West Coast viewing. And now it's funny because the Grizzlies are going out and they're playing the Kings at 9. Okay. I get that. I understand. And that's probably going to work out schedule wise. I don't know who else. Let me see who else is playing to really give my point. So NBA TV, they have the Heat and Warriors matched up with the Grizzlies. Okay. And so that's fine. Okay. That's a good game. The Heat have not looked good lately, honestly, until Damian Lillard got hurt last night. But then you talk about the Jazz having to play an early game in a sense, and the Grizzlies, they're saying that, hey, the Jazz are not good. Let's go ahead and grab all the Memphis viewing that we can possibly get. So it's funny that we're seeing that because 10 years ago, this never would have happened. I don't care how bad the Jazz are. 10 years ago, we're not having an 8 o'clock game out on the West Coast. We're just not. So props to the Memphis fans and props to Ja Morant fans, Grizzlies fans, everything to really push the number and the viewing to get that at an 8 o'clock game. I love it because I can watch a game, kids are just going to bed. I know you don't have that issue. Kids are just going to bed. I can turn on the TV uninterrupted for 3 hours. I go to bed by 11 o'clock. It's amazing. It's good stuff.
Makes the following morning a whole lot better when you're not up until 12:30 watching the Grizzlies. Whether they win or lose, it can be stressful nonetheless. So I'm super excited that we're getting earlier games out on the West Coast because Memphis fans want to watch it and aren't really wanting to stay up that late. So it's exciting that we're getting the relevance that we have kind of earned through the last year. So
a little relevance. I love it. All right. So the Grizzlies take on the Jazz in a 1 day off back-to-back. They play them on a 2-game kind of homestand for the Jazz. The Jazz will play the Grizzlies. They'll host the Grizzlies on Saturday at 8 o'clock, as I said, and then Monday on Halloween at 8 o'clock as well. So let's go ahead and let's encompass both games, right? We're going to have another show to talk about maybe what's happened in the first game, but you will probably not be on here at the second game. So let's go ahead and encompass both games. Give me straight predictions from the top on both games, just overall, and then we'll kind of dig in a little bit of the matchup, and then we'll get out of here.
We should win them both.
Wow.
We should win them both. We are better than the Jazz. The Jazz are playing great. Don't get me wrong. Lauri Markkanen is a dog. He's averaging over 20. He's feasting. And I love Colin Sexton. Ever since he was in high school on that AAU team and he told Penny that Jaden Hardaway was trash, I've been a huge fan of Colin Sexton for just being a monster. But we're better than they are, so we should win. If we beat the Kings, I think we drop a game against them. I don't think we're going to have a perfect road stretch. I think we'll drop one. So we'll either trade here or go 1-1 with the Jazz, or we'll drop one to the Kings. Just that's kind of how I see it. But if we lose tomorrow or tonight, I think we win both Saturday and Monday.
Nice. Okay. So I like that. So you're predicting this road trip, 3-game road trip, I do believe, right? Let me make sure
it might be a
4 game, because you got the Trailblazers on Wednesday. So yep. So we'll go just the 3-game road trip. We'll go October. What's left of October. So the Grizzlies are right now 3-1. So you would expect them to be
6-2.
I guess
5-2.
5-2, right?
Yep.
All right. So 5-2 coming into November. That's your prediction?
Yep.
I'm actually on the same thing. And I didn't think I would be, because honestly, it's the Jazz and the Kings. Right. But I think that the Grizzlies have a really good chance to play well against the Kings. And I've said that already. And so coming into the Jazz, I think they're pesky enough. And they're led by a guy like Mike Conley, who that's the type of team they are. And I was saying earlier, I don't think I ever proved my point, because that's normally what I do in life. But Mike Conley has been on these type of teams where it's not great group of players, but he's a player who kind of moves the ball, does enough to really make winning plays. And I think that's the type of player Mike Conley is, even at his age. And as he's aging, I still think he's that type of player. I hope he becomes a guy who can get moved and play for a real contender. Even if he's moved to the Lakers, they're not a contender. Maybe if they added Jordan Clarkson in that trade, maybe that would help them, but I don't know what happens for that. But I think I'm on board with you. 5-2 going into November. I think they're going to win against the Kings and split against the Jazz. And I think it'll be the first game. I think they lose the first game against the Jazz.
Yeah, I can see that. And then just kind of being a wake up call for us after we get, as you're predicting, a statement win in Sacramento. We'll kind of get woken up a little bit when we play the Jazz the first, and then putting them back in their place on Monday on Halloween. I can see that playing out that way. And I do think, we're talking just October, but for the whole road trip, I think we beat the Blazers. Anthony Simons is good, but I don't think they have too much else going on that I'm concerned about, especially if Dame is hurt for an extended period of time.
That's the thing with a calf. Dame's probably not coming back in a week, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And so I would think that Dame's going to be out. That helps the Grizzlies there. I think that road trip is a 3-1. I don't think that Simons, even though he's looked unbelievable at times, I don't think Simons is going to be enough to put that team over the Grizzlies. But looking at these matchups, Lauri Markkanen obviously is going off, which has been funny and crazy. And I talked to Ryan about this, and Ryan said that's just what Lauri Markkanen does at the beginning of the season, and then he kind of goes away. Yeah. But it's weird that like he's putting up big rebounding numbers. He's also scoring the ball, which has been good. He's kind of cooled off a little bit from three, which has been big, but is it mainly his size? And so I'm looking at the Aldama matchup, right? Aldama against Lauri Markkanen. I wouldn't say they're pretty much the same player. I like Aldama in that position because he's a little bit taller. I think he's got more length to him. And so I like Aldama guarding Lauri Markkanen. And are we talking about the Aldama shutdown here?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, but it's funny that you bring it up because, that's what I was thinking just a couple of seconds ago is if you had told me a couple of weeks ago or before the season started that the first one of the matchups I'd be intrigued to see in October was Santi Aldama and Lauri Markkanen, I would have laughed you out of the building. But here we are, and that's what I'm looking forward to is I think this is going to be a really good test for Aldama is to see how he plays against a guy who's pretty hot right now and physically is pretty similar to him. They both can shoot the ball, can rebound pretty well, and are lengthy defenders. I don't know that I would go to the point of saying that either of them are good defenders, but they're lengthy defenders and they have the potential to be disruptive. So,
yeah, I agree with that. So they play mainly 10 guys in the Jazz, and so they do it something similar to what the Grizzlies, are and what they, pretty much run. They don't play Rudy Gay as much. He's 16. He's under 20 minutes a game, as well as a Walker Kessler. And funny enough, like Colin Sexton, 10 minutes last game, which is a little weird. I didn't expect that. And I'm looking at it now. He's only been at 15 minutes, 19 twice, and then 21. So he's taking a nosedive in his minutes. So I don't know if Colin Sexton is going to be as big of an issue as he's been in the past, but Jordan Clarkson's been playing much better. Mike Conley is just Mr. Consistent. He's not going to do anything crazy. He's not going to really win the game for him, but he's going to put guys in position to be good. But Malik Beasley, who's he's killed the Grizzlies in the past, has been playing well as Taylor Horton Tucker has been playing well. And so it's a little bit of everything. Kelly Olynyk is on his team. I had no idea until I started looking at it. Yeah, it's crazy how many players they have. And it's funny that a lot of them I look at, I'm like, oh yeah, they're good against the Grizzlies. They always play good against the Grizzlies, which scares me. And that's why I said we're definitely going to have a split because there's too many guys on this team that play well against the Grizzlies to not lose a game. Yeah.
And, a little revenge game from Rudy Gay. It could happen. I'm not predicting it, but again, it wouldn't be out of left field for me. It could happen.
I don't know what Rudy Gay would have revenge on this team. He would know nobody.
Yeah, he has no interest or he has no connection to anybody on the team anymore, but it could happen.
Yeah, it could definitely happen. All right, that's all we have. So we're both predicting a 2-1 road trip for the most part, and then probably 3-1 total if you include the full road trip with the Blazers. And so we're going into November 5-2. What kind of grade do you put that on? A, B, C, D?
I mean, all things considered, injuries that we've had, no Ziaire, only one experience with Dylan Brooks so far. I'm giving it B plus.
Wow. B? What could they have done better?
Win.
Listen, knowing that you only have to be, 12 to 15 games over 500 to make the playoffs, and they would already be up 3. I feel great about that. I'm going to give them an A, just a flat A. It's not an A plus, right? Because I think they could have won another one of those games. But the fact that they're now 3-1, I say an A. But I expect them to draw. If they go 2-2 in this road trip, obviously that takes me down a full letter grade on that, and I give them a B. But for the most part, an A right now. I think the team is playing well. Ja has looked incredible. I'm going to dig into more of my player props. So if you're following along, you'll get them at the latest an hour before. And the reason is because the Grizzlies have had major injury concerns. And so Dylan Brooks has kind of slowed down any kind of player props. And so now John Konchar's, on questionable. So he's slowing down the player props from even coming out, even though he is a bench guy. So they'll keep coming out, but we're riding Desmond Bane tonight. First quarter for sure. We're going to go Grizzlies to win by 1 or more points. And so we'll have more that's coming out on this. We expect the Grizzlies to win, especially I do. I got them for 3. But one little betting advice, and I've done this, and I did this yesterday, and we did really well at it. If you do want to bet, please obviously do it responsibly. Don't be stupid about it. Don't put your house, mortgage your house just so you can keep betting. But what I do like is live lines. So if the Grizzlies, they're both going to go on their runs. Okay. And it's going to be ugly at times. Look at the first quarter. The lines will move drastically at times because this is a 3-point. You might be able to catch both teams. If you really don't know who to pick, both teams are going to be favored at some point. And so you can take the other team for plus money. And so you can probably grab one for plus 132 and the other one for plus 123. And you bet on both of them. You're going to make some dollars if you really want to do that. But the Grizzlies, you can catch them at plus money, even money or more on the money line just to pick them to win at some point, because I don't expect this game to not be close throughout. So just kind of pay attention to that. All right, Jesse, any articles or anything coming up from you or anything you want to give a shout out to or talk about before we get out of here?
Not really. There might be something coming out a little bit later about Grizzlies offense with Ja shooting the 3 ball the way he has, but we'll see.
Anything you've seen in this shot? Anything different?
His knees aren't knocking anymore. That's one big thing, but I'm excited because it's keeping the defenders more honest. You have to stretch out to the 3-point line on him now, which makes it a whole lot easier for him to get to the rim if he gets a full lane and doesn't see 4 shirts in the paint. So,
whew. Yeah. As long as he stays on both of his feet, that really excites me. It scares me when he's not because, dude, it's just, anytime he comes down like God.
High, he jumps so high. He's fallen from a pretty high spot that, it's a lot of damage on those knees and ankles, especially if you're landing on just one.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So little prediction on this. And so Ja has hit in 4 games. He's hit 3, 5, 0, and 4. Dallas, I don't say that counts because he wasn't really excited to be there. Everybody was tired, exhausted. 3 games, 4 nights. Last game, back to back. How many 3-pointers you think Ja hits tonight versus the Sacramento Kings, who give up the 11 most? And so they're only giving up 11.3. So it's decent. They're giving up a good percentage. So obviously they're not closing out. But they're obviously, when they do shoot, they're trying to allow a lot less than others. But 11.3 isn't terrible, but only allowing 11, weird. But what say you on Ja? You think he has 2, 3 3-pointers tonight?
I think I really think 2.5 is the number I'd avoid if I was betting on it. If I saw 1.5, I'm hitting over. If I saw 3.5, I'm probably hitting under. 2.5, I'm probably not messing with because it's too close. So I think I think 2 or 3 is pretty safe.
Yeah, it's at 1.5 minus 160. I'm not touching it. Too much juice on that bad boy, but no way. But let's have a good night. Let's have a good game. I don't have anything else for this. I think it's going to be a really good matchup in general. I think obviously you have De'Aaron Fox, who is a phenomenal player. You also have, just Domantas Sabonis, who I love personally as a player. Love watching him. And then some other guys that are on this team that can really fill it up, dude. It's gonna be a fun game. I hope it gets off in the first quarter and just goes crazy. I expect it to be a little, groggy and look a little weird and be in the mud in the first half. But second half should pick up if the first half doesn't look good. But that's all we have. Let's go ahead and get all the dubs. I want all the dubs. Just give me everything.
Let's just go 81-1.
Yeah, why not? Let's just go. Close it out. Yeah. All right, that's all we got. Be nice. Tell your friends.